much as a warning. Life hangs in the balance. Human endeavor turns to chaos. And within seconds, nothing will ever be the same. Ever. You have a front row seat to some of the wildest action ever recorded. From an out-of-control fire spewing deadly shrapnel in the heart of a city to a bone-breaking motorcycle crash at 135 miles per hour. It's TV so explosive, you'll want to wear a helmet. This is Destroyed in Seconds. When hundreds of tons of PVC plastic and 50,000 gallons of volatile chemicals catch fire, this is the result. Santiago, Chile. An out-of-control industrial fire erupts at a plastics plant. More than 700 firefighters struggle to contain the blaze, both on land and from the air. Officials evacuate 1,500 residents from their homes, fearful that barrels of volatile chemicals are ticking time bombs that may explode at any moment. One explosion is so powerful that it sends firemen running for their lives. Debris is sent flying into the surrounding neighborhoods. Chemical fires are difficult to extinguish and usually need to burn themselves out. This one produces a toxic cloud of sulfuric acid and chlorine that lingers for several hours after the fire is contained. When the smoke clears, only the smoldering skeleton of the plant remains. One person is killed and 63 more are injured, mostly from inhaling toxic fumes. The cause of the fire is never determined, and the company executives refuse to comment. But considering the force and the quantity of the explosions, it's amazing more people weren't injured or killed. Bridger Mountain Range, Montana.
Where are we going today, buddy?
We're going up there and then back down there and into Truman Gulch. Gonna poach a little powder in the backcountry here.
Nick Baldwin and Mike Nugent are making a ski movie. 12 inches of fresh powder make ideal conditions for skiing. And unfortunately, for avalanches.
Heavy advisory.
Just set off about a 2-foot slab, big old slide here.
Throughout the day, Mike and Nick capture some amazing shots. But little do they know, their ski movie is about to become a disaster film. As Mike comes out of the woods into the main bowl of Truman Gulch, the snow slab beneath him gives way, triggering an avalanche. He tries outpacing the tumbling snow, but catches an edge. Mike recovers for a second. Then the 40-mile-an-hour avalanche overtakes him, throwing Mike into the trees. The cameraman grabs hold of a nearby tree and weathers out the storm. Thankfully, Mike also gets himself hung up on a tree, which keeps him from getting buried and ultimately saves his life. Nick, the cameraman, hikes out to get help. And 2 hours later, a rescue chopper airlifts Mike to the hospital.
Yeah, it's like day 5. In the hospital, I got a broken femur and broken hip.
It takes over a year for Mike and Nick to get back to making their movie. But one thing is certain, they got their money shot. The Isle of Man. Each year, competitors from around the world come to compete in arguably the most dangerous motorcycle event known. The 6-lap, 226-mile Isle of Man Tourist Trophy Race. Nicknamed the Isle of Manslaughter, this race has claimed 223 lives since its inception in 1907. Today, more than a dozen competitors have come to put their riding skills to the ultimate test on the closed public roads of the island. One rider, Richard Milky Quayle, is coming off an injury he sustained from another race 6 weeks earlier. Daily visits to a hyperbaric chamber have cut his healing time in half.
It's like a 12-week injury in the field within 4.5 weeks.
Ready or not, Milky will race. It's go time, and 10 seconds after the fourth rider takes off, Milky guns it.
Here's Richard Milky Quayle. Aggo's leap and one more little lift, and he's on his way towards Quarter Bridge.
Milky rips through the village streets at over 125 miles per hour.
On his way into Ramsey. That is the Milky Bar Kid.
He enters the second lap of the race. But as he rips through one of the town's 400 curves,
We're on board with Milky Quayle. You can see there a bit of a fly problem.
he sideswipes a stone wall.
Oh, and he brushed the wall. Oh, Milky Quayle is down. Milky Quayle is down.
The Isle of Man. Richard Milky Quayle rips through the village streets at over 125 miles per hour.
And that's Milky Quayle.
Competing for a trophy in the 6-lap, 226-mile race.
Ramsey. That is the Milky Bar Kid. And
But as he hits one of the island's 400 curves,
We're on board with Milky Quayle, and you can see there a bit of a fly problem.
he sideswipes a stone wall.
Oh, and he brushed the wall. Oh, Milky Quayle is down. Milky Quayle is down.
As Milky carves the turn at 135 miles per hour, he hits the left wall,
Oh, and he brushed the wall. Oh.
loses control, and slams into the 4-foot safety barricade, sending both him and his $11,000 motorcycle sailing through the air. Milky lives. And days later,
The injuries are coming on nicely now. The lungs healed and the kidneys come back online again now. And
he's with his wife recovering at a local hospital.
I'm minus a spleen now, so I don't need that anyway. So I think they can just give that to the dogs or something to eat.
Although he makes a full recovery from the 135-mile-per-hour crash, Milky calls it quits, ending his racing career.
I was hoping to go out on a bit of a high, but unfortunately I've gone out on a bit of a low.
Oh, Milky Quayle is down. Milky Quayle is down.
St. Petersburg, Russia. A ruptured sewer line has weakened the foundation of this apartment block. The structure begins to sag, triggering a gas explosion. The blast breaks the building apart and engulfs it in flames. Frantic rescue workers have to go room to room, making sure no one is trapped inside. But before they can finish the daunting task, the distressed building succumbs to the fire. As the fire ravages the building, the structural supports are weakened. Then, without warning, the 9-story complex topples. When the cloud of dust finally dissipates, the building has been turned into a massive pile of rubble. The bodies of 4 apartment dwellers are recovered from the heap. But fortunately, most of the 150 plus residents are at work when the collapse occurs. If it wasn't for the heroic work of the firefighters, the number could have been much greater. This year's Phoenix 500 Air Race has attracted high-flying competitors from all over the country to compete against each other on an aerial racetrack. It's called pylon racing. The oval track holds 9 50-foot-high pylons spaced 8.5 miles apart. Planes from different categories compete in multiple races, circling outside the pylons for 6 high-speed laps. In this particular race, 2 vintage airplanes, a modified Super Corsair and a modified Sea Fury, are flying neck and neck as they enter into the 3rd lap. As the Corsair flies at more than 300 miles per hour, something goes wrong. The pilot throttles back, but seconds later, flames erupt from the engine and the plane catches fire. The pilot struggles to maintain control of the half-century-old aircraft. It's hopeless. With the plane engulfed in flames, the Corsair is doomed. Finally, the pilot bails. At 2,500 feet, the Corsair's 3,000 horsepower engine self-destructs. With the crash inevitable, the pilot banks the Corsair away from the crowd. The plane enters a nosedive, and at only 2,000 feet, the pilot bails. 10 seconds later, the $1.5 million aircraft is destroyed.
And Miami at X-ray runway.
Engine failure caused the accident. However, investigators are unable to perform an in-depth analysis because the engine is completely destroyed on impact. As for the pilot, ejection from the aircraft was not without injury. When he jumped out of the cockpit, he struck the horizontal stabilizer, breaking his right arm and a vertebrae in his neck. Fortunately, he made a full recovery and within a year returned to flying. The 405 in Los Angeles is the busiest freeway in America, hosting an average of 382,000 cars a day. A van is broken down in the carpool lane of this teeming freeway, and news cameraman Paul Andrick has stopped to shoot some footage of the incident. Traffic cones on the right indicate that there is a lane closure here due to road work. Between the work lights, lane changes, and drivers who routinely speed here at 70 miles per hour, it's inevitable that something will go wrong. The city of Los Angeles is known for its vast freeway system. Day or night, it's teeming with cars, which makes breaking down in the carpool lane all the more dangerous. News cameraman Paul Andrick suddenly finds himself covering a freeway disaster in the making.
Multiple injuries. I need CHP ASAP. We have multiple people down. These 2 people are sitting in their Mustangs. They're gonna get killed.
Andrick swings his camera light back and forth, trying to warn approaching drivers. But car by car, a deadly obstacle course is being constructed. They just keep on coming.
Southbound 405, 1, 2, 4, and 5 lanes, 4 vehicles involved, 2 confirmed injuries here.
And it's not over yet.
Another 5 vehicles involved.
By the time the EMTs arrive, This stretch of the 405 is a junkyard. The initial confusion may have been caused by the combination of the traffic cones on the right and the work lights on the left. Then, in the middle, the growing pileup becomes a barrier to the oncoming traffic. Although several vehicles are totaled, no one is seriously injured. Astonishing when you consider the number of vehicles involved. Cape Canaveral, Florida.
Ignition. Liftoff. 30 minutes after the hour.
The U.S. Air Force launches its Titan IV rocket carrying the billion-dollar Mercury Spy satellite. The unmanned rocket shoots skyward at 1,000 feet per second when it encounters a major malfunction. More than 40,000 pounds of flaming debris shower the landscape. Just after liftoff, a short circuit triggered a power outage inside the guidance system, causing the rocket to pitch and veer off course. Air Force Control launches a self-destruct command. At 17,000 feet, the Titan IV is destroyed. There were no injuries from the explosion, but the financial loss was immense. $1.3 billion. This put the Titan IV explosion as one of the most expensive failed space missions in history. Arches National Park, Utah. Off-roaders from around the world travel to this four-wheel drive mecca just outside Moab. They come to navigate some of the most challenging off-roading terrain on Earth. Among them, a driver on her honeymoon who's never done this before. Arches National Park, just outside Moab, Utah. There are more than 2,000 mammoth rock formations here, and none are more dangerous than Lion's Back Hill. This is where four-wheelers test their skill along the edge of a 300-foot drop. In the past, 2 off-roaders have been killed here, and many more have been injured. Now, a bride on her honeymoon who's never off-roaded before is about to take on Lion's Back Hill. After a bouncy start, the SUV races out of control toward a 35-degree drop. So what went wrong? The inexperienced driver panics and slams on the brakes. The weight of the 2-ton SUV caused the brakes to fail. The driver now realizes she and her husband are plummeting out of control. The car is totaled, and bystanders rush to their aid. The couple is lucky to escape with just a few broken bones. They owe their lives to a pile of loose sand in the riverbed. It absorbs most of the impact. In December of 1992, a severe nor'easter brutalizes Nantucket Island, 30 miles south of Cape Cod, Massachusetts. A nor'easter occurs when freezing Arctic air converges with warm Gulf Stream water. Nor'easters are named for the winds that blow in from the northeast and push the storm up the east coast along the Gulf Stream. The storm sends powerful waves crashing into homes and causes the streets to flood. This home suffers the worst of the devastation. The ocean completely engulfs the house and then carries it away.
It was just beyond belief. We were watching from the second house, just back about 15 feet from where the first house slipped into the ocean. And I just couldn't take my eyes off it. Everything we owned was in the house, and there was just nothing we could do except just watch.
Unbelievable.
Neighbors band together to salvage what they can. Unfortunately, the ravaging nor'easter continues for 2 more days. At the water's edge, in the Codfish Park section of town, 5 out of 9 homes are swept away by the pounding surf. The storm inflicts millions of dollars in damage and leaves many of Nantucket's residents homeless. By December 14th, the nor'easter has passed, but it leaves its mark upon the docks, the streets, and the homes of Nantucket Island. I'm Ron Pitts, and we'll see you next time on Destroyed in Seconds.